Randy Hirakawa and Dennis Goran believed in quality solutions and achieving this goal through the functional perspective on group decision-making. This theory focuses on group decision-making and how a group can make the best decision. By using the functions of the functional perspective on group decision-making, the idea is that when it is used correctly, the group will come out with the best decision possible. The origins of this theory originally came from influences of John Dewey and his work on reflective thinking, Robert Bales and his work on interaction process analysis, and Irving Janis and his work on decision-making. All three of these influences have paved the way for Hirakawa and Goran to study the functional perspective on group decision-making theory. The functional perspective approach describes and predicts task group performance when four communication functions are fulfilled. As you can see, the four functional perspectives are the analysis of the problem, goal setting, identification of alternatives, and evaluation of positive and negative characteristics. First, the group must analyze the nature and cause of the problem that faces the group, which will lead to a common goal. The next function, goal setting, establishes the objectives of the group which judge proposed solutions. Goal setting is clear and concise on what needs to be accomplished in the group. The third function recognizes the need for alternative group decisions. Nothing is promised, and this function explains that it is better to have more options to sufficiently solve the problem. Lastly, the functional perspective is the evaluation of positive and negative characteristics. This function tests the relative merits of each option against the criteria selected, weighing the benefits and costs. Typically, there is one group member who should examine both the negative and positive characteristics of each alternative so that there is order within the group. Hirakawa and Goran came up with three types of communication that was influenced by researcher Ivan Steiner, who claimed that communication that cause distractions within a group are non-productive conversations that create channel noises that cause a loss of information. The roles of communication that Hirakawa and Goran outlined are promotive, disruptive, and counteractive. In the role of promotion, there is interaction that leads the group on the path by calling attention to one of the four decision-making functions. Disruptive is an interaction that diverts, retards, or frustrates group members' ability from achieving the four task functions. Notice how the disruptive role is similar to Steiner's losses due to process. Lastly, counteractive interaction is used to get the members in the group back on task. Goran and Hirakawa are convinced that humility in a group goes a long way. No one has all of the right answers, and their suggestion is to be open of other ideas, so that everyone can contribute to the group. It is important to not be closed-minded coming to the group of an honest discussion. They saw that Dewey's six-step process of reflective thinking allowed group members to be intellectually open-minded. Reflective thinking favors rational consideration over intuitive hunches or pressure from those with clout. The 6 steps from Dewey include recognizing symptoms of illness, diagnose the cause of the ailment, establish criteria for wellness, consider possible remedies, test to determine which solutions will work, and implement a prescribed solution. These 6 steps parallel a doctor's approach of treating a patient. However, this same process can be useful in group decision-making. Uses of this theory come in handy when there is a big goal to achieve, whether it is in the classroom or at work. For instance, I take a group communication course, and the purpose is to work with a nonprofit organization and achieve a major goal by working together. Throughout this process, it is necessary to look at the 4 functions of effective decision-making by analyzing the problem, setting a goal, identifying alternatives, and evaluate positive and negative characteristics. Keeping these 4 functions in mind and implementing them is key for successful group-making decisions. On the contrary, using this theory is not needed when friends are trying to go out to eat or something of that nature. Using discretion on when to use the functional perspective on group decision-making will contribute greatly to what someone needs to accomplish. There are many other theories that are relevant to the functional perspective on group decision-making, and a few of them include the uncertainty reduction theory and the expectancy violation theory. The uncertainty reduction theory shows the increased knowledge of what kind of person another is, which provides an improved forecast of how a future interaction will turn out. This is what happens when working in a group because there are expectations in the beginning, and as the group begins to work with one another, the uncertainty within the group decreases as the knowledge of one another increases. The expectancy violation theory shows what can happen when expectations are violated. This can happen often in a group if one member has a norm and it is violated. This can cause conflict or other issues amongst the group. The symbolic convergence theory shows how two or more private symbol words incline toward each other and come more closely to develop group cohesion. This theory implies that getting off track with a joke or something humorous will create synergy within a group and a fun environment to work with. This theory is not against getting off topic and having unpredictable disruptions within the group. On the contrary, the functional perspective on group decision-making suggests any disruptive behavior is a loss to the group and thus needs members to get the group back on track. The functional perspective on group decision-making is more structured to getting the goal accomplished, while the symbolic convergence theory suggests that it is important for a group to be cohesive through different symbols, including jokes, gestures, or any kinds of that sort. There are countless theories that can be used to its full potential, and the functional perspective on group decision-making can be very useful when used correctly. When used properly, they can be a reduction on conflict, and there will be more reasoning for decision-making that the group will be able to agree upon. Being strategic in groups always end up successfully accomplishing the goals.